Welcome, geeks, to another episode of Rockin The Code World with dotNetDave. I'm David McCarter. I'm glad you're here. I'm excited about my guest today. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But, I was going to start the show off today with a song I've been writing on acoustic guitar, but I decided not to do that because I got a package from CSharpCorner yesterday. Woohoo! So yesterday, I don't know how long it took to get here, Simon. You can tell me, but CSharpCorner sent I think all the MVPs a nice little gift package, and I finally got mine yesterday, all the way from India. So I thought I'd share the stuff I got in there because I'm really appreciative that not only did they send it to me, but I got free stuff. All geeks like free stuff, right? So I'm going to go through the bag right now. So leave it up on this screen, Simon. So let's see what's first. So first, they sent me some Rockin The Code World with dotNetDave mouse pads. Woohoo! I love these kind of mouse pads because they're really great to travel with. So when I travel, I always use these kind of mouse pads. So thank you, Simon. I got a few more. Thank you, Simon and Mahesh. I got a water bottle. Always need water bottles because for some reason, water bottle lids are like socks. You always lose them. And then, what do you do with the water bottle, right? I got this cool, I think these are coasters, right, Simon? Simon's on a bathroom break. These are coasters,
Yeah, no, it is.
I think. Okay. So these are coasters. So that's cool. I need coasters around my place because I'm always drinking my iced tea or water when I'm, hanging out here. I haven't set this up yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Now that I have an iPhone 12, they sent me a lamp with a charger in it. That's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to setting this up. I haven't had time to do it yet, but that's pretty cool. What else? Oh, they sent me this really nice polo shirt. Isn't it nice? Awesome. And I think they remembered that XL in India is not the same as XL in America. So I think this is actually going to fit me. So I'm happy about that. They sent me a bunch of these shirts. Rockin The Code with dotNetDave. Did you send me a bunch of these for me, Simon, or to give away?
It's for you and give away whatever you like. It's 5 of them.
Okay. They sent me 5 of these, so I don't need 5. Maybe I'll keep 2 and give away 3. How about that? I'll work that into some show coming up. And then, oh man, I forgot to put in the bag. Oh, they sent me this nice backpack. Always need new backpacks. But, I think we need to come up with a backpack recycling program because I have so many up in my attic I'd like to give to people that want them when I get nice new ones like this. And they also sent me an MVP award, which I think I left over by my guitar where I took a picture of it this morning. But if you go up to Twitter, I don't want to leave the show. So if you, go up to Twitter, there you go. You can see my MVP award. So thank you very much. I really appreciate being recognized by Mahesh and the crew at CSharpCorner. I'm getting close to 1 million reads on CSharpCorner. So, hopefully I'm helping you all with your careers, and it gives me kind of, momentum, to keep doing all this stuff I do for you guys in my free time. So, and concluding the show. So I really appreciate it. So thank you, Mahesh and Simon and the awesome crew at CSharpCorner. And more thank you to all the people that watch my show and read my articles. You're the reason I do it. So it's not for me. It's not for CSharpCorner. It's for you guys. So I really appreciate it. So my guest today is someone I've known since the 90s. I think he's been coding as long as, or not longer than I have been. And so I'm sure we're going to share a lot of great stories, kind of like Carl and I did last week. We had so much to talk about since, I've known Carl since 94. And so I've known Woody since around that time, if not before, or around the time, I think. And Woody will tell me. But Do you want to go to the slide, Simon? So Woody Pewitt is...
You're not sharing slide, David.
Oh, I'm not sharing? Sorry. There you go. So Woody Pewitt is a systems architect and problem solver, kind of like I am. And like I said, I've known him for a very long time. You know, I've known his family. I actually just saw one of his sons walk behind him before the show that I haven't seen since he was like 4 feet tall. So it's interesting to see him at 5 something or 6. I don't know how tall he is. But since Woody and I have known each other for a very long time, I was thinking about it this morning, and I'm guessing Woody's going to tell me an embarrassing story about me because he likes to do that. And so to get the ball rolling, I'm going to tell you one about him. And hopefully he'll still be on the show when we go to him. It's not bad, Woody. So the reason I live where I currently do is because the first company Woody and I worked together was walking distance from my house. And since I hate commuting, I wanted to live close to work so I could just walk to work and walk home and all that stuff. So anyway, it's right up the street. We worked up there together. And so, when Woody and I first started, we were on the same team, but a little bit later, he moved off to, I think, the technical sales team. And so one day my boss comes in to me and says, "Hey, Dave, AutoCAD's coming to look at our product." I go, "Okay." And he said, "Well, we don't want to show the code because Woody writes curse words in it. So can you go through all the code and take out the curse words?" I said, "No." I'm not going to search all of our code to see where Woody put a curse word. No, I'm not going to do that. Sorry. So anyway, there's the funny story. So hopefully he's still my friend after that story. I think he will be. I've told it before. So please shoot your questions to Woody and I, or to Woody. We're going to be talking about user groups, Dotnet Foundation, something else. I think I'll say at the what was the other thing? I forgot. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to the show because actually, even though Woody lives 10 miles from me, I rarely get to see him anymore, especially during the pandemic. So it's going to be nice to hang out with Woody for an hour or more and catch up, see what we're up to. Okay, so let's get going. So I haven't got any requests to speak anywhere at a conference yet this year. So if you're a conference organizer or you want me to come to your city or country, please contact whoever puts on events in your area and have them request me through this URL. I'm itching to get back out there. I get my second COVID shot Monday. So I'm ready to go speak. I need to get out there and go speak. It's been tough. So anyway, there's you go do that. I made a mistake. So I try to release new NuGet packages and source code for my open source stuff at the beginning of every quarter that I do it. But I screwed up because yesterday I woke up and I thought tomorrow was May 1st. So I did a tweet saying that tomorrow I'm going to release it. And then I realized May 1st is until next weekend. So I went ahead and released it early anyway because it was done. So I hope you go check out the second release of my open source project, all written completely in .NET 5, called Spargene. It has 59 new methods and classes, along with benchmarking and unit tests and stuff like that. So the NuGet packages are out there right now. And later today or tomorrow, I'll get all the source code cleaned up a little bit and put up there too. So, and I found my first person that's actually going to help me with writing some of the unit tests and stuff. So I appreciate that. So I hope you check it out. So I put out a new article, testing. There's got to be a better way. I hope you guys have read it. It's by one of my latest articles on CSharpCorner. So I hope you go check it out. I have a new one coming out next week. Oh, I haven't got any feedback. So, when I write articles on CSharpCorner, I like feedback. Okay. So if you like the article, if you agree with it, don't agree, you want to share your story, please do that. I'm getting close to, 1 million reads on CSharpCorner, but I have very few comments. So come on, don't be afraid. I'm not going to talk bad about you or something. I need to get feedback so I can do a better job for you guys. So the only way to do that is to make comments or to email me. Okay. So as every week, everybody gets a free copy of CodeRush from DevExpress by going to devexpress.com/dotNetDave. It's a real copy of CodeRush. It's not a fakey stripped down version. And CodeRush is my favorite refactoring tool because pretty much it's the only one I've used since Visual Studio came out. And I love it. It makes me a more productive developer. So I hope you'll go get your free copy. I know some of my teammates at work are doing that. So I hope you will too. That's why I've worked out this agreement with DevExpress. So take advantage of it. Oh, I think we're going to talk a little bit about Woody now. So I think, let me see. Yeah. So I did this with Carl last week, and I like to go find pictures of, me and the guest, from way back when, and to kind of show you, us palling around, having fun at conferences and stuff like that. So I don't have any pictures of Woody and I when we worked at Motiva right up it's not in existence anymore, but it was right up the street. So, but I did find a picture of my old computer desk at Motiva. So this is as close as I could get to a picture of Woody and I. Woody and I don't have a lot of pictures together for some reason. And, but, Woody did help me run the San Diego.net developers group, which I retired from a number of years ago for 20 years. So, Woody and I are really, really big into community. And, we've done a lot of work together here locally and across the United States, really, helping, other developers by our community work. So him and I are really really love community and giving back. So, so actually, this is a picture of Woody and I. Oh, here's a picture of Woody and I when at my anniversary party, which Scott Hunter came down and was the keynote speaker, which I was really happy about. So there's me on the end with my KISS boots, and there's Woody in the middle next to the other Woody and the other guys. So these are all the founding members of the user group. So I was really appreciative that a lot of them came back for my anniversary for my retirement party. And there's Woody and I. There's Woody speaking at the user group. I know Woody's going to get on me about these pictures. But anyway, there's him speaking at the user group that we met right up the street. So here's Woody and I with Tim Huckabee. We used to work together with Tim. And but I don't remember where this was or what we were doing, especially since Woody and this other guy's got Hawaiian shirts on. So maybe he remembers. But I found this. I'm not really sure where it's from. And here's some more Woody, pictures of Woody. Woody at code camps. What else? Yep, Woody at code camps. Yep, code camps. Code camps. Code camps. So you can see Woody does a lot of community work, just like I do. Well, I used to do. I don't do a ton of it, at least, for the user group anymore, except for speaking there. So anyway, with that, I'd like to bring on my really, really good longtime friend, Woody Pewitt from San Diego. Hey, Woody.
Greetings, sir. How are you?
Good. So did I embarrass you enough?
No, you can't embarrass me, dude. Yeah, try again. And that one picture you didn't identify was actually from, were they calling it? It was right in that
Live in Florida or something, maybe? No.
No, it was the Microsoft version. What was it? MSDN or whatever they called it at that time.
Yeah.
There was the developer thing, they did IT pro thing, and then they merged them and all that. And that was the very first event I went to as a Microsoft employee.
Oh,
and I paid for all of you guys to eat dinner and drink and stuff. And I got so much crap for that expense report. You know,
why did we drink a lot? Probably.
No,
Well,
that never happens.
Tim Huckabee there. Yeah, sure. Sorry, Tim.
No, that whole group has hollow legs. So
yeah, I know.
It was good times though. And and you talking about going out and speaking and stuff, I feel the same way. I need to see the inside of an airplane at this point. I mean, I'm just, you know, not only for my customer interactions, but also to just go see places, you know. And you know, you get your second shot on Monday. I get my second shot on Tuesday.
Oh,
so
cool.
We're in line.
Rod got his on Thursday, and so far he's just had some nausea. So I'm hoping I don't have too many side effects like I've been seeing people having on Twitter. So from the second shot, I'm hearing a lot of side effects from the second shot.
I'll take those side effects over getting COVID. So yeah, not a problem.
So
it's been forever since you and I have even seen each other, you know.
But we saw each other a couple months ago, or month and a half ago, right?
I was about to say it was a month or two ago, and that was the first time we'd seen each other all year.
Well, like a year and a half, I think, actually.
Oh wow, yeah.
So not close to a year and a half, I think.
Yeah. So, but it was all good. But I wanted to pick up on the community thing. Because if you remember, that's where I met you, because you were running with Richard, the local San Diego Visual Basic user group. Yeah.
Right.
And I was living in Dallas at the time. Don't make me shudder and remember those days of living in Dallas. Sorry for anybody who lives in Dallas, but I just did not like it.
My daughter lives there with my grandkids, but I don't think they like it either. So.
But yeah, so when I knew I was going to be moving back to San Diego, I made sure that the timing of me coming out to do house shopping was when the user group was going to be meeting. And I had already known you from time on CompuServe. And oh God, I'm dating myself. Sorry to be dating you that well too.
Yeah.
But I made sure I made it for that user group, and I got roped in from then on once I moved to help you with that user group. But you had already been running the user group for a couple of years, right?
Yeah. And I can still picture you and your wife walking into that room.
Yep.
That's how momentous it was to me that, you know, that was the first time I actually got to meet you. And I can still picture in my head. I can still picture the room that we used to hold the user group in, down there in Sorrento Valley.
Dark green. Yeah, which I love green normally in a room as an accent wall, but not the whole darn room. So,
well, yeah. Can you imagine like sitting in there for 8 hours for training? Because that's what they used it for.
I actually gave a couple trainings in that room.
Yeah,
it was depressing.
Yeah. No windows, dark walls. Fluorescent lighting, but. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk not only about the user group stuff, and we can get into Code Camp as well, but one of the things I'm really passionate about this year, especially because of not being able to get together for community events and user groups and stuff, is the .Net Foundation stuff. I wind up, I don't do as much as I think I should. A guy named Dave from Florida does most of it, but
Dave Noter?
Yeah. And he's awesome. He's on top of it.
I really like him.
Yeah. And any local user groups can broadcast using the facilities of the .NET Foundation to the world, basically. And they'll stream it just like this is getting streamed on all sorts of different platforms. They'll stream it for you on all those different platforms as well. And so, yeah, I would really suggest if anybody like myself is jonesing for that local community kind of feel, go check out the .NET Foundation. And that's just one of the things they do. I don't know if you're involved in like Is your open source project registered up there with them?
I think so, but let me make a note to check after the show.
Yeah, because I mean they do a lot of good open source of .NET projects and get a lot of good visibility for that. So I would totally suggest anybody take a look at that if they can. So
yeah. I don't know about you because I don't know how much you've been to Mexico during the last year, but have you gone at all?
We did a couple of times, but it was mostly when I needed to be doing some trainings. And when I do my trainings, I don't do a lot of other customer work. And so we'd go get an Airbnb where we wouldn't have to be around anybody. And we'd usually get it right on the beach. And when I do my trainings, it's usually for Asia Pacific time zone or European time zone. And so then that way I could spend the day on the beach and then I'd go back to the Airbnb and I'd do those trainings.
Yeah.
And
rough.
That way, yeah, it was rough. Yeah. Yeah.
But for a year and a half now, I've literally not been 10 miles away from my house. It sucks, and so literally almost the day the 2 weeks kicks in for my second shot, I'm getting the heck out of here. So one of my teammates who I haven't seen in over a year invited me to where they are now, and they decided to move up to San Jose with their family. And so that's where I'm going. So I'm going to go up there, visit my one of my teammates, and we're going to go do some fun stuff in that area, including San Francisco. And they told me about some place up there where you can go and you can actually do some weird gravity thing. So where there's this weird gravity spot up there where you can stand on like a slanted floor, but you're standing up straight. I don't know. You have to see it when I bring the pictures back. It's just, yeah.
I'm sure it's more of an optical illusion than it is.
Yeah,
real,
probably.
Yeah.
But I just want to get the heck out of here. I'm sorry. I want to get out of here. I want to get on a plane. I made my plane reservations. I paid all of it with miles. So I'm flying to San Jose on first class because I have enough miles for that. And I'm so looking forward to just, I even made a tweet this week going, I can't believe I'm so excited to go to San Jose. Because there's not much there, right?
So I just got a comment in about the .NET Foundation and not really understanding what it's about, and and how it doesn't necessarily reach out to a broader community, which I can totally understand that. I've talked to people who don't even know it exists and stuff.
I don't think most people do. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, so in overall, I'm mostly involved in just the community side of the .NET Foundation, but they actually do have some industry partners that really give them feedback in the roadmap for the .NET platform overall. And they wind up really doing a lot of open source projects that get cataloged. I mean, they're not hosted there and everything. It's more of a catalog. But I find the community side of it really beneficial because you can go up there to dotnetfoundation.org and you can see all the past streamed events. And you do definitely get directed to the user group that it was broadcast from and everything. So it's not like they're trying to cut it out. It's just a nice central repository. But, if the next question was, how can you participate? It's, get up there and, do some socialization. You could email me and I'll give my email at the end of this and everything. If you really want to get super involved, and how you go up to the website and look at all the different categories and things they do. And we can definitely get you more information and get you engaged. Because it's pretty cool. If you look at the board of directors and the people who run it, there's definitely Microsoft representation there, but you'll see that there's a lot of not Microsoft representation there. So
Yeah.
it's a nice balance. I mean, obviously Microsoft just wants to make sure it gets driven and make sure, it moves forward. And all of the people from Microsoft, it's not their primary job, right? So it's not like they're .Net Foundation marketing, blah, blah, blah. It's just they've decided to, add value into the foundation as well. So it's actually really cool. They have some calls. It's a nice way to, AWS sponsors it as well. And actually, so in my last couple of roles, I've done more AWS work than Azure. And in the last 2 years, it's flipped back more to Azure. But AWS actually made some really good contributions into the foundation to help their serverless functionality work better. And so the spin up speed in AWS definitely improved just because of their contributions. So that's what I like about the foundation is that, it's whoever wants to contribute can definitely contribute. It's very cool.
Speaking of AWS, while you're here, and because maybe you know better about this, because I'm working on a microservices right now with AWS. Did AWS introduce the concept of durable functions?
Define that better. And
do you know what Azure durable functions are?
I guess I don't. You're just talking about the serverless. You're just talking about this. You're just talking about the serverless functions in Azure.
No. Well, the durable serverless functions. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No. So that's where I started with AWS. Was I built a whole microservices architecture on AWS using .NET, and then when I got back over to Azure, they had their serverless functions, and I haven't been able to work with them a lot because my current largest client, they needed everything within secure VLANs, and you can't do the serverless function within a VLAN. You have to call out to them, and there was a lot of lag. And that's getting better. It's still not solved yet, but and that wouldn't have been an option in AWS either because they had the same problem.
Yeah.
It's I don't know who came up with it first, but I know that
I think it was Azure. Yeah, Azure came out with it first. I think. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not a historian. I just use what I need to use. So.
Well, I just remember the last big project I worked on for AWS. I had to do a lot of hokey stuff. And then, after I left that project and not long after that, Azure announced durable functions. And I looked at that and going, oh my gosh, that would have been so much easier if AWS had that, right? Because I wouldn't have set up so dang many queues to send things to and eventing and stuff. It's just built into the durable functions, right?
Oh, I see. Yes. I know what you're talking about now. So, but the official product names are Lambda functions versus Azure functions.
Yeah, right.
But then Azure has now built the framework around an Azure function. But I don't know. I kind of like owning the queues and everything, and then that way I can see message failures and everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a. Yeah.
Well, that's the one problem with microservices is that it doesn't have a real good concept of kind of like a workflow, right? And so that's kind of what durable functions allows you to do is to create a stateless workflow basically, and that can be spun up and spun down and hydrated and start running again and that kind of stuff, So anyway, I didn't want to get into a big discussion about durable functions. Sorry.
Why not?
I didn't want to derail your talk. I mean, what you wanted to talk about. I just thought you might know. So, yeah. Okay.
So here's a question for you.
Okay.
So in my world, I'm pretty much right now living in the world of, doing enterprise and, corporate architecture. So doing a lot of justification and verification of, why we would go in a particular direction with the primary customers that I deal with. And one of the biggest features are functions that we want to bring in, because the product owner group wants to start controlling when features get actually launched to the public website, is around doing feature flag functionality. Have you ever dealt with feature flags within your code base?
Mm-mm.
So it's really cool. In Azure, they have the app configuration capability, which, you can get all sorts of flags, and it's a great repository to get that stuff out of your code base. You have a simplified API. And then they have created, and it's more of just a definition of how to use it, but how to manage feature flags within that same capability. But
Can
there's
you
not a
define
lot.
a feature flag though?
Oh, okay, that's a great idea. Thank you. So a feature flag is where, within a website, or this can actually even be a full-blown client, you can wind up saying, okay, we've added a different code path in our code that will wind up adding this functionality or feature into the product. But we don't necessarily want to turn it on. We want it there. We can use it in the test environment. We can use it in the staging environment, but we don't want to turn it on yet. Then later, once that code actually gets deployed to production, you can make the decision of, okay, now, as of today, we're going to do the messaging to the clients. We're going to, tell them, and we're going to turn it on. But then there's a lot of other capabilities that you wind up getting. You can wind up saying, hey, I want to turn this on only for certain audiences. So now you can say, okay, if this person is from company XYZ, then expose this feature to them on this date. Or you can say, if this person is within a number of percentage of the user base. So you'll say, okay, we will only expose this feature to 10% and then maybe 20% of the user base.
Yeah.
And then
slowly
you can
ramp it up. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. And just kind of see how it goes and do user experience. So there's all sorts of filters that you can start adding to this capability. And like I said, Azure, through the app configuration capabilities, has this opportunity to do it, but it's very developer heavy, So in other words, you're not going to be able to go to a product owner and say, hey, here's this neat dashboard that you can just go flick on these different capabilities. If you go up to Azure portal and tell somebody in product ownership, hey, just go to Azure portal and go here and do this, they're going to go, huh? They're going to have no clue, right?
Yeah.
And so I've been actually evaluating other products, and I look forward to Azure's feature flag capabilities, getting more mature, because then you're within the Azure infrastructure. You're probably more reliable. You're better latency issues. But there's two feature or companies that I really have liked, and one is Split.io. And the only problem with Split.io is that they wind up calling their features, they call them splits. So the nomenclature is a little different, but their API is so clean, and you can cache all the settings locally, but there's another product called Launch Darkly, and they just went out hands down when it comes to letting product deal with the features, right? Because they have this dashboard where they can say, hey, we want this feature, but it has these other feature dependencies. And so they can't accidentally turn on a feature that if this one's not turned on, so they either get a warning or they can say, oh yeah, go ahead and turn on all those other features. And so it's very manageable for non-developers. But I don't really dig it because it's actually
That's
hosted.
kind of scary that you're letting a product manager do that.
No, that's not the big thing, because if they mess themselves up, it's on them. Because the nice thing is all these products have good logging, so they'll know who did what. So they know whose throat to choke, you know. But the thing is, they're hosted in AWS, and they don't have a lot of caching capability within your application. Where with like Split IO, they're hosted in AWS as well, but they have a lot of caching capabilities. So, you know, I can make a routine pull of the cache and then have it within the Azure infrastructure and everything. And of course, that's why I really want the feature flags in Azure to get more mature, because then I don't have to worry about it. It's all in Azure. So
does it only work with websites?
No, you can do it. It's an API. So as long as you have connectivity, you could technically pull out a WinForm application. Not that I've touched one of those in years, but you know,
I still have one. I'm converting mine to .NET 5 right now.
Cringy, man.
Klaus
have you looked at Blazor?
Is waiting for me to yeah, but this is really a PC app. It's not something you can really do like that.
All right, then I can't give you too much crap.
I do have I kind of grasp the concept of the feature flag itself, but how is that represented in the code, or how do you put that into code so things can be turned on and off?
So that's a great question, and that is definitely a lot of legwork, because it's in the end, I mean, you can do it more elegantly, but in the end, it's if statements. You know, if this flag is turned on, you're going to go down one code path. And the issue that I have with this is it makes unit testing specifically very difficult. And so that's why I like the Split IO API out of all three that I've talked about. And there are more products out there, but they make unit testing very nice, because you can do local config files that mimic making the API call to get the setting. And so it becomes easy that you can include a config in your unit tests and your local projects, and have those run as if the API was getting called and everything else. But yeah, I mean, there's no black magic there, right? I mean, in the end, it's a code path decision. And so it's how you make that choice becomes, you can make it more elegant versus just chunky. But in the end, it's comes down to some switch saying, hey, you've got to go down this code path in this situation, but go down this code path in that situation. And other than unit testing difficulties or challenges, I should call that, it brings so much function to the product and to the product owner's realm that it's usually worth it. But everybody in the organization needs to realize it's gonna, especially initially when you start implementing these sort of feature flags, it's really gonna slow productivity. Because integrating these sort of things into a code base can be a real challenge. But once you have a nice code base where it's integrated, then it's not that bad, and people get used to. I mean, now we even have mustache templates that generate our microservices code bases that actually inject standard feature flag capabilities into the code. And a lot of times they'll be blank, because we're going to say, no, that's an old feature. And so we can take that code out. But at least that way, the developer sees, oh, okay, this is where I would put that sort of functionality for these types of features. So it's been really interesting, but
I'll have to check that out. It sounds interesting. But so does this need to be would you advise developers or teams to think about this during the architecture part of the project? Because does this come into that early, or you do it later? Or
no. If you're doing a net new project, that's the right time to get
Yeah.
this thing implemented. Because, if you go ahead and start identifying with product, well, what features are we releasing within this time frame? And this doesn't have to be a particular sprint. It could be a whole, evolution of the product. If you can start getting a roadmap of features for the future, then you can start templating and building those sorts of feature capabilities into the code. And like I said, at first, maybe since you don't have that second version of the feature implemented, you're just going to put a comment in there. And I would use swear words of this darn blah, blah, blah. And
I don't think you'd use darn.
No, I wouldn't use darn, but, isn't implemented yet. But actually in the feature or in the comments, I would actually even put in what product had said about, target date of filling it out. So later when a developer's reading through that code, they can say, oh, product said in the second quarter we were going to start doing this and we haven't started yet. Let's go double check with them and see what's changed,
Yeah.
But
this sounds really interesting. So I'm going to put it out there before I forget, because my boss is on the line. So Mahesh, maybe we need to do a whole show on one of your shows on feature flags, because this sounds pretty interesting, but a little bit complicated, and have Woody come do it. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do it because I can show both sides of greenfield code base versus, legacy. And when I say legacy, I'm talking like last quarter's code that this wasn't integrated into.
Not from the 90s, right?
Yeah. So, and, like I said, there are quite a few other products that we've looked at. For this client that I'm dealing with, it's most likely going to be Launch Darkly that we're going to go with, just because how great of a job they do for product, and we decided to take the complexity into dev, and we'll deal with the API complexity there. But then that way, once we get the features tuned in and tested, then we can tell product, okay, well, it's already deployed to production. You turn it on whenever you want, and they can do it by the rules that they want to define. So either by users, by company, by percentage of users. There's all sorts of cool rules that you can put into there. And you can do those rules with any of the product, but most of those rules then have to get wrapped up into your code base.
Yeah.
So this is a way to keep that sort of rule-based stuff out of your code base. So
could you use feature flags to expose parts of your program to paid subscribers and non-paid subscribers? Could you do that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you could think of, okay, here's a basic user, a several different tiers of user, and you could say that user is based on an organization. Mm-hmm. So well, that company paid for this level of usage, or these are all the people in that organization. Or you could say, David McCarter, paid for the super advanced version, so he's going to get all the features. Where Woody's the cheap person and he gets the basic features. So it's all up to how you want to set it up. There's really no limit to the different rules.
Yeah. Well, you kind of got my brain thinking, because, I've been working very, very slowly on this conversion from .NET Framework to .NET 5. And it would be nice if I, had a free version of the app and a more, paid version of the app that does more. And so this looks like it'd be a good idea, a good thing to implement that with.
Yeah. And the costs overall, the Azure capability through their app configuration is the cheapest cost out of all these. But Split.io is next, and then Launch Darkly is, they know they got a good thing going. So, they're definitely top shelf of the pricing range. So
cool. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
No, it's been a lot of fun,
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's what the show is about, is to bring on new ideas and talk about them. And, because I never heard about this stuff yet. So it's I'm glad you shared it with the audience.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting thing. And so we've done a lot of analysis of capabilities out of Azure of, like what sort of messaging pipelines to be using and things like that. And, the database capabilities within Azure. But this is the first time we really were looking at third-party products.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done that before with other clients. But it's always interesting to listen and talk with your clients about what's important to them,
Right. Yeah.
Because some clients will, they're like, well, we've got these devs already and we should just, make them do the work. Because like one of the devs that was helping with the testing of the code base, he said, oh, well, we'll build a dashboard on top of the Azure feature flags, and we'll let product do that. I'm like, so you're going to have a whole different team that's going to be
Right.
five people plus yet another product owner plus, so you're going to have 8 people at least working on this thing for at least, they break their workflows into PIs, for at least a quarter or more. And you versus going and buying the solution that out of the box may not be perfect, but it gets you 90% the way down the road,
Yeah. This is my pet peeve with third-party software and why companies don't want to pay for it. I'd never understand it. Yep. Never will understand it. Yeah.
You've talked about that rant for years and years, and I agree with you. So
yeah. There's so much great third-party stuff out there and libraries you can use. Why would you write it from scratch? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me for most cases. Yeah.
Well, and my background. I mean, when I left Microsoft, I wound up actually working for several different tool companies.
Yeah, you worked for Grape City or Component One, didn't you? Or no, it's Telerik.
It was Telerik and Dev.
Dev Express.
Dev Express. There we go. Yeah. 2 great companies. Love them for very different reasons. The people at both company are awesome. And that's the thing is, like at Dev Express, I primarily worked on their pivot table product that they had. And it worked across all the code bases. So it was web-based as well as, thick client-based. And the code in there was just incredibly dense, awesome code. And if I simply could have never written a pivot table like they created, I mean, it would take a decade of writing.
Yeah, that's so much work, And I mean, if you've never created controls and stuff like that, it's a lot of freaking work. I've done it, and that's why I don't like to do it, because what I come up with is a lot less than what I could buy, right?
Yeah.
The only reason I've done controls is because they didn't exist at the time, right? And that's the only reason I've done it. If there's a control out there that exists that does what I want, I buy it.
Yeah, definitely. And so it's always interesting to hear yet another client's perspective on that, because I think, you either get the dev perspective of, oh, we can build that, or you get the management perspective of, oh, we have devs to build that, or you get the exact reverse of a dev who says, well, I don't want to build it because I know it'll take too much time.
Right.
Or hopefully where you really live is where you get a manager who says, I don't want you to dev that because it's going to take too much time.
Yeah.
So,
the good managers realize that. But unfortunately, there's few of them, at least in who I've dealt with, because, they go, oh my gosh, I have to buy a yearly license to this. Yeah. So, I mean, come on, $1,000 license is a drop is dropping a bucket of what your developers are going to spend, so just do it.
Well, as someone who I have recently brought on my first employee and hopefully we'll be bringing on more. Trust me, when you start paying payroll and health benefits and all that business, it's the problem is you get to these larger companies, and that dev manager and or the director of the group doesn't see how much it really costs. They just it's blah blah blah. So get close to the costs is a good idea.
I think companies like DevExpress and Telerex should have like an ROI calculator on their site, and just to tell people how many hours you're going to have to spend to basically write this thing if you don't buy it, So
I know I used to have that conversation when I was at DevExpress, because the pivot table was specifically used in the financial industry a lot. And so you'd get these developers who are like, yes, that's exactly what I want. And then they had to justify it to their boss. And I would get on calls and I would say, look, this is how many man hours we have into that product. And yes, you're going to use maybe 20% of the overall functionality, but just do the math, of this many man hours, and you're going to use 20% of that functionality. And that's this many man hours. Do you really want to pay for your devs to sit around and not be able to deliver any other functionality until they're done?
Yeah, I know. I've been on a recent project where, we struggled to get the UI out because, they didn't want to buy anything. And so it had to all be written by hand or other JavaScript packages or something. And, something that should have only taken maybe a week with a lot more features took months with a lot less features. Right. And it's a lot more convoluted if we want to make changes and stuff, and so it's kind of frustrating when people don't see the light with that,
Well, and if anybody as a developer or somebody who's listening to this, I urge you, reach out to whatever vendor it is and ask, hey, can you show me, can you give me evidence at an ROI level that I can go to my management and show the value that they'll be purchasing versus spending? And I guarantee you every company has thought about that. So, it's just ask them. I mean, I used to get on calls all the time, just even if it was like a 10-minute call, and help, express those sort of ideas. So, yeah.
So what else do you want to talk about? We got like 5 minutes left, unless Mahesh will let us go a little bit over. Dude, we haven't talked too much about the user group stuff. I mean, we talked about the .NET Foundation, but
what can you say about a user group? If you haven't been to one, go to one, right?
And support it
in your local area.
Speak at one.
Yeah. Talking about speaking at one, there's the great story of Hatan here in Southern California, so this was a guy who, very young in his career base. This was 10 years ago. He's not so young in his career base anymore, but he also had, and still has somewhat a really serious stutter and
speech impediment.
Yeah. And he really wound up, and he came to both of us, and he talked to not just us, but other people. And he wound up doing user group presentations, and he is now running the SoCal Code Camp. They haven't had one in a few years because of, COVID and stuff, but, and it really helped propel his career and visibility. And
he speaks better now.
Oh, it does.
I remember in the beginning, it was tough. It was tough to listen to him for 6. I mean, I wouldn't say tough, but you had to spend more brain power on it. But now he speaks so much better than he did, 10 years ago. Yeah. But just keep doing it over and over and over again. You'll get better.
And that's why I have to hand it to him for having. He really just decided, okay, this is going to be potentially embarrassing. This is going to be, whatever, but in the end, it's going to be good for me. And
he stuck it out.
He bit the bullet and did it. And it's awesome. So, for what, and that's kind of the extreme example, right?
Right.
But, for a lot of people, like when I think I I don't know if I've ever told you this story. The very first user group presentation I ever gave was at the .NET user group no, it wasn't .NET. It was, they called it Computer Days or whatever in Dallas, because they had this huge venue where they could have like 15 things going simultaneous. Right. So once a month they would take over, and they had all sorts of specialties, and they were just getting out of Basic Pro and this thing called,
Visual Basic
was coming along. And I happened to be in the middle of doing Visual Basic and stuff. And so they said, oh, who here's using Visual Basic? And I was the only sucker that raised his hand. And they said, you own an hour a month now of giving a presentation on Visual Basic. And my first presentation that I did was actually just on the simple debug function in the old Visual Basic. And I mean, it was the most nerve-wracking, and I remember I would go home after giving that, because this was a daytime thing, because they do it on Saturdays. Yeah, and I would go home and I'd have to like crash for like an hour because it was so stressful and everything. Yeah, but now I can do a talk in my sleep pretty much. At least that's what my wife says. Yeah.
Are you talking in your sleep? Well,
yeah, she says I do.
I still remember my first talk at the user group, and it was, so we founded the user group in April '94, and then my first talk, I actually still have the PDF of it. My first talk was July of '94, and it actually wasn't about code. It was a little bit about code, but it was about building Windows help files. Yeah. So those of you who know me that preach about good documentation, that's how long I've been doing it. since my entire career, that was my very first one. And I remember just how frightened I was and scared to death to speak in front of 30 people, back then. And now I get in front of, 1,200 people in India. It doesn't even bother me one bit at all. Yeah.
Okay. What's your biggest audience?
I think it was India. I would say before, I think maybe Dev Days, but I think I would say Dev Days or India maybe. But in recent history, India for sure. Yeah.
Oh, so Simon's saying that was 2,500 plus. See, Simon, you just stole my thunder, because that's my numbers, 2,500. Yeah. The funny thing about that is the first day, this was at Tech Ed, and the first day, because I gave the same presentation twice. And the first day I spoke to 2,500 seats.
Empty.
5 of them were occupied.
The 5.
But the next day, and it was a timing issue, because they were having the attendee party that night. And so it was the very last session of the day, and everybody needed to go back to their hotel, and they would have missed the beginning of the user party or the attendee party.
That's important. So
yeah, it is
free booze, right?
Free booze. Yeah. But then, the next day I did the same presentation in the same room, and it was full. So
yeah, I think I spoke at Dev Days once, way long time ago and I actually spoke with Tim Huckabee. Him and I did like a session together, right? And I still remember that, because I think to that time that was the biggest audience. I don't remember how big it was, but it was in a huge room because it was Tim Huckabee, right? And I made a crack right at the beginning of my session, like I like to make cracks in my session, and one, it was just around that time when Tim and I were doing this. Britney Spears was popular, right? And so, they gave Tim and I these Britney Spears microphones, right? And we had to put them on. I felt like Britney Spears, and I go, well, at least I'm actually talking and not lip syncing, like Britney Spears does.
Well, I have another great story, but we're going to have to wait for next time. So, because I think we're out of time.
We'll have to have another one of these. Yeah, we're getting pretty close. Oh, we're overtime, actually.
Yep.
And Mahesh didn't say we could go long. So, so before we go, I wanted to ask you some standard questions, one or two things that I ask all my guests. And so, what do you do for fun?
Well, since COVID, I've been gardening, and my lawn looks so awesome. But no, typically, like, I go for good walks every day with my dog, and I throw the ball for her, so that's fun. I really like to then on the weekends try and go camping, get away from the computer and stuff. I used to avidly run, but as you can see how fat I am, I really messed up my foot and can't really run very much anymore. I mean, I
haven't been able to run for decades because my foot surgery. So yeah.
So, but yeah, that's besides that, it's unfortunately all my boys have grown out of lacrosse. They're too old now. And so, because I used to support the local lacrosse program, and I still run their website. And the guy that runs the program, he says, "I expect you to quit every year, and you don't quit." I'm like, "Hey, I think it's a good program." So, yeah.
Well, but when you and your wife start going to Mexico again, you can always invite me. Hint, hint. I'll go there with you.
We'll get a big enough. We'll get a big enough Airbnb, and
Yeah, that'd be fun to hang out with you guys for a weekend, because I know you go down there often before pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's what you do for fun. Do you have anything to plug?
No, not really. I mean, other than myself, I got my woodyp.com website. If anybody needs an architect or help on getting projects done or fixed, that's usually what I wind up helping with. But yeah,
well, hire Woody because he's better than I am. So
no.
So before I let you go, there's something that I want to say to you publicly, so it's on the public record. Okay, don't be worried. I just wanted to publicly thank you in front of 5,000 plus people that through the years, since I've met you, I've really appreciated you being my friend. And you, I'm going to get teary eyed. So you have always been there for me when I really needed somebody to help me. You've driven me to surgery appointments. You've come pick me up in the emergency room when I was rushed in the ambulance. And you and the core group of geek friends here in San Diego have always been there for me. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And so I'm so glad you and mostly you, but other geek friends in San Diego are in my life and are my friend. And I want to tell you how much I value that.
Well, thank you, David. It means a lot, but it's not that big of a deal because you are a true friend. So once you have a true friend, that's that.
Yeah. So. I consider you one of my two friends. The only bone I have to pick with you is you've never invited me to your house. So come on.
The door's open right now, even.
I'm not just going to walk in. I don't know what you and your wife are doing.
She's out right now roller skating somewhere. I don't know.
We have to have a barbecue or something after we get our shots. Come on. I've not seen your house. I think I saw one of your other houses really early on when we knew each other. I think I was there once. I don't think I went inside. I think it was outside for some reason. But your new house I haven't been to. So, all right. Well, thanks, Woody. I really appreciate you being on. I want to have you back on. So, that you always have an open invitation. Anything you want to talk about, please just let me know and I'll work you in. It's tough finding speakers right now because a lot of the Microsoft people are all working on .NET 6 and everything. So you always have a welcome home here to talk about stuff.
Well, thanks. Happy to always be your fallback.
Hey, plan B is not bad, right? Plan C, maybe you might give me shit. But plan B is not bad. I don't mind being a plan B unless it's like in a romantic relationship. So, all right, thank you, and hang out, and we'll chat a little bit after the show if you want. If you don't have to go anywhere.
Thanks.
right. Thank you, Woody. That was really fun. And as you can see, Woody and I, we didn't show a lot of our banter, but we have this like weird banter that, whenever we used to do talks together at the user group, people called it the Dave and Woody show, or maybe I called it the Dave and Woody show. I don't know. But we have this really interesting banter when we speak live that we just comes to us naturally. And I don't have that with a lot of people. So Woody's a great guy. He's a great architect. So if you need somebody to help you out with your projects, please contact Woody, because he's one of the few people I'd recommend off the top of my head. So, all right, got a couple more slides, mostly just fun stuff before we end today's show, because I know y'all want to do whatever you're doing, either going to sleep or doing yard work like Woody. So I did a Twitter poll, and because I was curious about software engineers. When you're really in the zone and someone bugs you, either with a phone call or a meeting or something like that, how long does it take to get you back into the zone again? And so because, I'm experiencing it getting longer and longer since I'm getting older. And so I did a poll, and this is what it came out with. And it looks like, according to this poll, at least, it's over 20 minutes to get back into the zone. And, I kind of thought that these are probably 20-year-olds, these are probably 30-year-olds, these are probably 40-year-olds, and these are probably older than 40. I don't know. But so I guess my whole thing is this: I just wanted to see what other people experience, and to tell managers, stop bugging your developers all the time with meetings and interruptions, because if you have a 30-minute meeting, that's literally kind of like an hour of lost time. So come on, let's keep the interruptions down, keep your developers going. Okay. I want to do some Geek Humor every week, I decided. So I love this. This is an old thing that, we've experienced my entire career, at least. And that is, what's the best way to get a raise at your current job? Threaten you're going to leave. And then all of a sudden they find the money, right? And that's exactly what this cartoon shows. Usually if I'm going to threaten to leave, I just leave, because I don't like to play games like this. Anyway, I thought that was funny. And this morning I was watching Bill Maher, Real Time with Bill Maher. It's one of my favorite news shows because it's partially comedy. And I think in the news these days, we really need some comedy to swallow it. So I decided to try out a new section at the end called New Rules, and just some thought that's going through my head for the week that I think we all need to think about, right, as developers. And so the first rule that came up in my head this morning was this: be proud of your work. One of the things I really like about architecting a solution from beginning to end is basically coming up with the idea and then seeing it in the real world. And that really makes me proud that, not only did I complete something, but really, I say this over and over again. And my job as a software engineer for business development, mostly business work, not games and stuff like that, but, for companies, is my job is to make your job better, right? And if I don't do that, it's hard for me to be proud of my work, because, that's what I want to do. I want to make your job or life better. And so what makes me proud is when I can do that. And so find what makes you proud and do it, and don't back down, right? Because once you start backing down, you start slipping into mediocrity or whatever. But, be proud of what you do. This is a great career. And if you chose this career, it can be a great career, but that's really up to you. So be proud of your work and show it off, right? I love to hear things of what people are doing and what they're doing with code, or even like, what he tell us about feature flags today, right? So I can't wait to go check that out. So anyway, be proud of your work. All right, thanks for watching. I'm still working on next week's guest. I think I know who it is, but I don't want to say it until they're booked. And then the week after that, I have someone for the Visual Studio team coming on, and I can't wait since they've announced Visual Studio 2022, and maybe we can get some info out of her. So please be safe with the COVID pandemic. I know things are getting better in America, but things are really bad in India. I was watching a news story today, and I'm really floored on what's happening there. So all of my followers in India, please be safe. And I don't want to lose a single one of you. So I hope we can help, and I hope our government will free up the supplies that you need to create your vaccine. So here's hoping, because I want to come back and I want to see all of my Indian followers at CSharpCorner conference next year. And please email me your suggestions, comments, whatever you want to Rockin Code World at CSharpCorner.com. And I checked this morning, and as long as I've been publishing that email, I haven't got a single email. So come on, 5,000 of you are watching this today. I know I can get a couple emails. Just send me an email that you watched the show, what you liked, what you didn't like. Make a suggestion. Suggest to me who you would like to be on the show, because I'm just going to bring on people I like. So suggest who you want to see on the show. I can get pretty much anybody if I don't have to pay for them. So please send me an email. I'm lonely. I need to respond to emails. So please do that. Please be safe. And don't forget to give blood at your local blood center, no matter where that is. I actually talked to the San Diego Blood Bank this week, and they told me personally that they are in dire need of your donation. So please go give blood. It's easy. It doesn't cost anything. And if you live in the US, I will send you one of my books as long as my supplies last, right? Just show me proof. Show me proof of you donating blood with a selfie. I'll send you a book. Come on. We need people to give blood. Okay. All right. I'll see you next week on Rockin the Code World with dotNetDave. Thanks.